This podcast was produced by OAR FM Dunedin with support from New Zealand On the Air.
Right On, showcasing the work of Otago Southland writers. I'm Beverly Martens. Join me for news and interviews with local writers on the second Wednesday of every month from noon till 1 and replayed the following Sunday at 1 p.m. Right On is brought to you by the Otago Southland branch of the New Zealand Society of Authors and kindly supported by the great team at the University Bookshop.
What do you want to be when you grow up? They say you are what you read, and the University Bookshop can help you be whoever you want to be. Do you want to be an athlete? Then sit down with an inspiring sports biography. Do you fancy yourself as a detective? We have a grisly lineup of murder mysteries waiting just for you. Do you aspire to be the world's greatest chef? We have cookbooks to tantalise your taste buds. Do you want to celebrate your inner child? Play up in our fabulous children's room. The University Bookshop, helping you decide what you want to be when you grow up.
Hello and welcome to Right On, proudly brought to you by the Otago Southland branch of the New Zealand Society of Authors and in partnership with the University Bookshop. And actually I'll be chatting to their book buyer, Feana Kinski, later in the show. But my first guest is Feana Tu'akoi. Now, for those of you who already don't know, Feana is this year's, and I'm only going to say this once, 2024 University of Otago College of Education Creative New Zealand Children's Writer in Residence. Boy, that's a lot for a writer and a copywriter like me not to want to edit down. Nevertheless, welcome, Feana. You've been in Dunedin for a few months now.
I have.
Yeah.
I've been here since halfway through February.
And how's it going?
Oh, so well. I really like it. I've really enjoyed my time here.
In what ways?
I grew up in Temuka, so I've kind of come home to my people. People down here are the way that, people were when I grew up. It's normal to talk to people and, swap
Do you mean a
stories
level of sort of openness and friendliness? Or
yeah, I mean, people are very open and friendly where I live as well, but it's less normal just to stop and chat to someone you don't know. Whereas down here, people don't seem to lift an eyebrow so much. And when I'm in shops here, people have actual conversations with me instead of
rather than
asking me about my plans for the day and things like that.
Rather than it being sort of transactional.
Like a script, yeah. They kind of have maybe they don't, but it seems like they have a friendliness script sometimes.
And you've been to, you've interacted with a lot of writers while you've been down here.
Yeah, and librarians and bookie people.
There's quite a few bookie people in Dunedin. Yeah, excellent. Now, the residency that you've got is jointly funded by the University of Otago and Creative New Zealand, and it's offered in association with the Robert Lord Cottage Trust. So you're actually getting a really healthy stipend in that time, some good dosh, which takes away the sort of financial pressures that are often on a writer. It's always a bit of a struggle. Plus you've got the accommodation as well. So has that kind of worked out for you, and how's it been at the cottage for you?
I've been so lucky to be at the cottage. It's amazing because I think that would be quite tricky. I know that the Burns Fellow finds her own accommodation, and I'm glad I didn't have to do that. I just had to Google map it and drive up to the door sort of thing. The cottage is really good. It's a historic cottage and it's got everything you need. Like there was even a yoga mat. I was so surprised. And it's really close to the uni. It's in the student area, and so you're just sort of surrounded by people who are hanging out in the same place as I am, because I have an office at the university as well.
Right. Which area have you used more than the other?
I've gone into the university every day unless there's a good reason not to, because I'm not required to, but I figure that to be part of university life is kind of the least that I can do for them. I go in there and write every day, but when I also spend a lot of time doing things at the cottage. So today, because I was coming here, I wrote at the cottage sort of thing. But both places are great, so it's easy.
Excellent. Now, you're nearly at the end of your residency, it's a 6-month one as opposed to obviously the Burns Fellow being a full year. So you're right, it's great to have accommodation included because it would have been a real upheaval to find somewhere for 6 months. The trick about the Burns, though, of course, is if they find their own accommodation, they get quite embedded and then we kind of hang on to them afterwards. They don't necessarily leave at the end of that time. So that's what kind of adds to the writing community here.
That's a bit different for me, though, because my husband's still back home in Kirikiriroa.
Yes, so, right.
I'm definitely here temporarily.
Right. What has it flown by though, or?
I've done so much since I've been here, and I've been pretending to be social while I'm here as well. So every time someone asks me asks me to go to something, I've gone. So I've been much more social down here than I would be at home, and I've done lots of different things. So even though it has flown by, I've packed a lot in.
So let's then get onto the work that you wanted to achieve down here. Can you tell us what your project was and how that's gone?
So I came down with the idea of writing a mid-grade mystery novel. So mid-grade's like, I guess, 8 or 9 up to about 13. And it's gone really well. I'm still working on it, but the story's all down and, I've got it sort of, I'm just doing the tutoing with it now. So I'm up to the bit I like the best.
Right. So how many thousand words are you talking there?
About 30, something like that.
Yeah. And have you done, did you have a draft before you got here? Or have you
No. In fact, I had to work backwards from how I normally work because they ask you to submit a project and I don't know what I'm writing until I write it. My last mid-grade novel literally started with the words something about someone who.
And was it overheard conversation or something? That must have sparked an interest for some
No,
that
I
phrase.
started with a what if question. And so I just noticed, the book I'm talking about is Lupini the Legend, the one that's shortlisted for the Book Awards.
Yes.
So I'd noticed that kids were getting more anxious in schools, especially over COVID and things like that. And I really like what-if questions where you put two things together that don't really go together. So I asked myself, what if a perfectionist tried to succeed at failing? So that was my question. And then everything I write starts with the words something about someone who, because I don't know who's in it or what they're doing. I didn't know the main character was a boy, for example. I thought he was a girl when I started.
Right.
Didn't know his name was Lupini. Definitely didn't know he was a legend. And so I just start and then I just splatter my subconscious across the page, right till I run out of steam, and then I kind of do it backwards from everybody else because then I'll go back and outline what I've already done so I can see the shape of it, and then I can just go hard again. And I'll just do that as many times as it takes.
So that's like introducing the structure after the fact, do you mean?
Yeah. Well, I don't know. I know books by osmosis from years and years of reading. I was always a hard-out reader, and so yeah, I don't really think too much about structure or anything like that. I just write.
Just trust that it's inherent in you.
And then normally when I get to the end,
I
get to the end, I'll go back and do the beginning because obviously I didn't have the beginning because I didn't know what was coming. So this time though, because I was coming down here, I had to tell them up front what I was writing, and that was really weird.
So you had to do a pitch for something that you
It's just
really
you just
what...
have to say what your project is.
Yeah.
And so I had to decide in advance what it was going to be, and so that was really strange for me. But it's good to work in different ways, I think.
And also, you've got a hell of a track record, so that would have been a big part of you being successful and getting the application. So let's just step back a bit. You're a really prolific writer. You've been doing it for
a long time.
Yeah, I'm going to say more than a quarter of a century. Yeah. Something I read that you've got something like 230 different titles. And across such a range of genres too. There's poems, there's picture books, there's junior fiction, there's a lot of school reader stuff, there's plays, there's radio stories. Where does that discipline for writing in you come from? Because we can all have ideas, but to actually apply and, get them finished.
I'm naturally quite a disciplined guy anyway. That's just how I roll. But I think I've always been really clear about my kaupapa with it. I started writing because when our kids were little, I couldn't find any books by or about Tongan people. Like there was just nothing. And I don't know if you've come across the work of Dr. Rudine Sims-Bishop. She's an American researcher.
No. Do you want to
Yeah, so
tell
she
me and our
says
readers
that
about
books can be mirrors that reflect your life back to you. They can be windows into other realities, or they can be sliding glass doors that you can use to enter other worlds. So for our kids, books were never mirrors. There were just no books about
that reflected anything about who they were? Yeah.
And so in 1997, I just decided to start writing them. So that's why I started. And a lot of my books have characters from families like ours. So our family is Tongan and Palangi.
Mm-hmm.
So lots of my books have characters from a family just like ours. And that's sort of like my kaupapa in the background. It's kind of, I haven't planned a career or anything like that, but it's kind of helped me decide what I'm going to do and what I'm going to write and all that sort of thing.
Now, does that put more or less pressure on you? Because if you're doing it for sort of a wider than you scenario in a way that's sort of, it can be more or less pressure because, you're saying that you want to reflect your family, but you're also kind of wanting to reflect a whole sector of society.
I'm not trying to reflect anyone other than us.
Right.
I mean, I do me. Someone else can do them.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, yeah.
And the other thing is I'm very clear, and always was actually, that even though I've been in a Tongan family for most of my life by far, I'm still Palangi and I still see the world with a Palangi worldview. So there are stories that, even if someone else was writing about the same thing, they're going to come at it from a different point of view because, I'm me and that's the only way I can see it.
Right.
So, like at the very beginning, I retold a couple of Tongan legends for the school journals so that my kids could read them because we couldn't buy them. And that was done aunties and nanas in the family told me I was doing that, and then they kind of fought it.
Oh, right. So they said,
they fought it out amongst themselves for the version that they all agreed on. But I didn't. I kind of wrapped it in my own story rather than telling it as a legend by itself. But now I probably wouldn't do that because now we've got people who can tell it with a Tongan worldview, so why would I do it, sort of thing. Whereas back then there was nothing.
So would you get sort of slightly nervous about cultural appropriation almost?
No, I don't get nervous about it.
Right.
I mean, I've never had anybody say anything to me, but then I've always just tried to write the stuff that I've experienced or that I know, sort of thing.
So you know your truth. So
yeah. I'm just writing what I see. So I did a story for the journals about taulunga, the traditional Tongan dance. But we go to lots of taulunga. I'm just writing what I know about it, sort of thing. But other people will know different stuff. So, I've never found it to be an issue.
And you've clearly had some great notable successes along the way. You were awarded the Tom Fitzgibbons Storylines Medal and award in 2022, a couple of years ago, and you're a finalist for the Esther Glenn Medal, which is going to be announced next month. And I know you're going up to Wellington for that, so all the best. Yeah, but that's with the Children and Young Adult Book Awards. Now you were a judge for that last year, weren't you? So how do you feel about being you're on the other side of the process?
Yeah, I mean, I've been a finalist for it before. It's a funny interconnected world when you're writing in New Zealand.
Absolutely, yeah.
I mean, because Ruth Paul, who was also a judge with me, is also a finalist this year. Yeah, it's just how it happens.
Right. What was the judging process like, though, when you were a judge?
Oh, it was such a great thing to do, and I would recommend anybody to do it because, I mean, how lucky to be able to read a whole year's of worth of New Zealand children's and young adults publishing in one go, kind of thing. I mean, it was just really good. The books were sent to us sort of in tranches, so you didn't get like 100 books all at once.
Right, so you weren't overwhelmed.
Yeah, that's right. And we had regular Zoom meetings just to talk about what we were thinking about things because it's a very collaborative process. And because all the judges come from different points of view, a lot of discussion goes into it and we're all affected by what each other thinks because I I think it can be really easy just to look at things from your own point of view.
Oh, and pick favourites.
So it was a really, really good thing to do.
Right.
I really enjoyed it.
You're saying it was a really democratic process.
Yeah, it's by consensus, so it's not a vote. It's not like, 5 people wanted it and 1 didn't. It's a consensus. We talk about it and everybody came to agreement.
Right. Yeah. Good, great process to go through. So what do you love most about your creative life?
I've always loved to make stuff. I mean, I was always that guy. I mean, like one of the things I did when I first got here, actually, the Robert Lord cottage is very tastefully decorated, all lovely creams and things like that, and I can't stand the lack of colour. So the first thing I did was I crocheted this riotous kind of king-size blanket to put over the couch because I just can't deal with no colour.
Oh, God, that's hilarious.
And so,
So that'll be staying? When you...
I'd never even thought about that.
Oh, okay. Right.
I'm assuming they want me to take all my junk with me. I like to make stuff. So, I mean, I've been making clothes and all sorts of things. So
you're quite into craft as well as...
Yeah, I just like making things.
Right.
Yeah. Anyway, I don't mind how I do it, but I like to create stuff.
Does that sometimes take do you find that you can knot out the problems in your writing if your hands are busy doing something else? Do they work in tandem like that?
Yeah, when I'm doing handcrafts, I have to be doing something else because otherwise it's mind-numbingly boring. I'm not one of those mindful people who can just sit there and be zen while you're doing it.
Right.
I'm either watching something, listening to something, or doing something else while I'm doing it.
So in the modern parlance, you'd be an active relaxer?
I guess.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not a person who finds it easy to sit and do nothing. I mean, even now I'm jiggling. I just can't help myself.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess what I'm saying was having such a sustained career, you've kind of been able to make a living out of it in a way that perhaps some other writers can't.
I was making a living until my husband got sick, and at the time we still had a mortgage, and mortgages don't like to be paid twice a year like writers, so I had to go back to full-time work.
Right.
And
so did you have to take a break from your writing?
Yeah, I went back full-time. I carried on with the educational stuff because of what my kaupapa is, that reaches more kids, and so I stopped trade writing for 10 years, and I've only just gone back to that.
Can you explain trade writing to our listeners?
So trade writing, these are the books you get in bookshops and libraries, the ones you can go and buy, whereas educational writing goes straight into schools.
Oh, so that's what you call, right, so we'd call it commercial.
Commercial trade, same thing.
Right, okay, no, see, that's interesting, because when you said trade, I was thinking of industry.
Oh, right.
Like in the way that there's the building industry, or that because I've done that as a writer.
Oh, maybe I should start calling it commercial.
More like press releases and stories within, and that might go into newsletters or something. That's what I thought trade was. So thanks for
Well, I might be misusing it.
Doesn't matter as long as we as long as we kind of understand what we're talking about.
Yeah.
So you're nearly at the end. You've got another month down here. What's next for you?
Down here or when I go back?
Both, either, yeah.
I've got a week in Welly coming up, and I'm also going down to Invercargill for Books Alive. Do you want
to tell our listeners about Books Alive?
I don't know a lot about it yet.
Okay. I
know that the wonderful Pauline Vailunga-Smith is organising it, and I've had contact with her, and so it's sounding, I think it's going to be really good. But
is that a schools-based event?
But that's pretty much what I know at the moment, because they're still in the throes of organising it. I've got a lecture to do, another lecture at Otago Uni College of Ed. I think I'm speaking to the third years. I'm going into North East Valley Normal School to speak to them. So that's all while I'm down here.
Do you know what your lecture subject going to be?
I think, I haven't really organised that yet, but I think it'll probably be maybe about, my process.
Because this is talking to teaching students.
Yeah, my process and things that they can think about with books and things when they're choosing them. Because I think, people are they realise that it's a good thing to choose diverse books, but one of the things that I think, they may or may not agree, is that quite often when people choose books about people who are different to themselves, it's almost like a ta-da thing. Oh, now we're going to read this story about this Tongan child. Whereas from my point of view, that's a normal kid.
Right.
So like that's one of the things I like to say to them about it is just think about how you present things, because you can accidentally present things as other. Even though you think you're being supportive. I mean, you are, but you know what I mean.
Yeah, I do.
Yeah.
I do know exactly what. I think that's a great message, actually. Yeah.
So I'll definitely be saying something about that, but I haven't got as far as organising it yet.
And then after you leave Dunedin, your book will be at the sort of first draft stage? Or?
Oh, no, I'm further along than that.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
And another thing I was doing while I was down here is I've had this kind of kids poetry book on the go for forever. And so I've done some more of that too. But yeah, that's one of those things. It's just a long-term process. Eventually I'll get to the stage where I think I've got enough.
And back in Hamilton, you've kind of resettled in there. What's on your agenda?
I've got a story tour around the Coromandel coming up. And very excitingly, we're going on our first family trip to Tonga.
Oh, fantastic.
So we've been. It's not like, we haven't been, but we've never all been together. Because your kids must
be in their, late 20s now?
Yeah. Yeah, we just haven't been together before. And
so all your kids in?
Yeah.
Oh, fantastic.
Yeah, so we're all going. And so
brilliant.
that will be really exciting because, it'll be nice for them to sort of see it with Sione there. Because it's not the same, like they're Tongan and they feel it in their bones, when they go there. There's a visceral reaction, just like I have when I come across on the ferry and I see the burnt hills.
Right. Yeah.
So they have that automatically. But, how good will it be for them to be there with Sione who can show them where he grew up and, take them to all of the places. Because I've already done it with him. But this time we're all going to do it together. It'll be really exciting.
And, I bet you're going to come home with a few story ideas in your suitcase. Because that's going to spark all sorts of things, isn't it? Yes, it does.
Ideas. I mean, I don't think ideas are ever a problem. We've just got to slow down enough to notice them.
Yes, and also to stick with them and apply them and get the thing done, you know.
I think if you pick something you're interested in, it's easy to stay with it. But I think sometimes if you're trying to write things you think will sell well or that you think are going to be the next big thing, that can be trickier.
Yes.
But I just do me, so it's easy.
Right. Yeah. Someone once said it's really good advice is do whatever you can to keep staying in love with your project.
Yeah. Yeah.
So even if you kind of shelve it, something else might trigger you to go back to it and give it some
And
love
I've always
again.
got lots of things on the go. If I, get to the stage where I'm thinking, I don't know where that's going, I'll write something else for a while and then go back to it.
Brilliant. Well, we wish you all the best. We eagerly await your new mystery adventure book. Has it got a working title or a full title?
No,
at the
I
moment?
was thinking the other day a title would be helpful.
Well, your publisher might give you that. That's all right. Yeah, you might just have to choose from
And to be fair,
one.
I think sometimes they're better at titles than I am, so it might be a good idea.
I think so too, because they can pick the essence out of it. Yeah. Well, look, thanks so much for coming in, Feana. It's been a great chat and we wish you all the best.
Thank you very much.
Now, we're just going to take a short break and play a New Zealand classic, which puts a positive spin on weather, on winter weather in particular, which, trust me, is what we all need at the moment down here in the deep south. So here's Dee Dee Smash with their track Outlook for Thursday. So my next guest is University Bookshop book buyer Feana Kinski. Welcome, Feana.
Hello, Beverly.
Now, this is your first time on the show, so tell us a little bit about your role at the bookshop and also maybe a little bit about yourself.
It is indeed. Thank you so much for having me. So this is my third year as a book buyer. I was completely new to the industry and I really fell into it by way of being an arts administrator. I am a physicist by trade from the University of Otago here.
So physicist and arts administrator are not a natural match either.
Well, it is a bit because the work that I do is actually very data-driven. You have to be a little bit unemotional, which is difficult. I am emotional about books, usually in an excited sort of way, as you will find out in a little while.
Yeah.
But the buying that we do and the balancing across what we're offering and cash flow and all of these sort of things are actually quite more Excel problems than book problems.
Mm-hmm.
So I worked at the International Film Festival for many years as the logistics person and coming home to Dunedin with a small child in tow at the time. So I'd always lived here, but I did the Wellington thing as a sort of an exciting few years in the capital.
Me too. Yep.
Exciting. It was good. I came back and worked at the Writers' Festival. And at the end of that, Philippa, who of course ran the university bookshop for many, many years, she said, come work for us. It'll be great. And it has been great.
Excellent. Excellent. So, lovely you've told us a bit about yourself as well. Obviously, working mum, you're busy as.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But who isn't, right?
So with your role at the bookshop, you're talking about data and everything. You're also having to look ahead all the time,
Absolutely,
aren't you?
yeah.
So how far ahead are you sort of planning at the minute? I mean, is Christmas come and gone for you?
Christmas nearly done. So we've bought in everything that are September titles, and October starts next week. And it's going to be a great book season, especially for the cookbook lovers out there. We had a terrible time last year collectively. I love cookbooks.
What do you mean you had a terrible time last year?
Oh, there was just nothing decent was published.
Right.
The good news is they're all coming out this year. So really a lot to look forward to. I'm building an extra shelf in my kitchen to accommodate.
I'm not very good with recipes because I argue with them.
Oh, do you?
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
which, and substitute, which is actually brilliant for cooking, but it's terrible for baking.
Oh, I agree. No,
you got to respect the science in baking, don't you?
Absolutely. No. Cooking is for physicists, baking is for chemists.
Which kind of leads us to talking about almost Bonnie Garmis's book, doesn't it? Lessons in Chemistry, because that's the brilliant combination of both, and that still continues to be
it's
bestseller.
Strength on strength, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, it's we did extremely well out of it, but it's already 2 years ago. But the
TV series is out now.
Series is out, and for those that we have a beautiful hardback edition in at the moment for it, which would be a great present for someone who's just discovering it. I still think it is a wonderful book for younger readers as well. Young women.
Well, it's a feminist novel, isn't it?
Absolutely.
Yeah. It's couched in other ways, but it's a totally feminist novel. Now, UBS continues to be the sort of go-to for the book launches. And for instance, my two guests last month on the show, Magella Cullinane and Penelope Todd, both had lovely, successful launches at UBS recently. What have you got coming up in that area?
Right. August is a busy month for us. I want to start with good/bad news. We're putting on a book lovers quiz on the 1st of August, but by the time this show is being recorded and airing, we actually are sold out already. So,
yes, I saw that. You've got a wait list. Yeah. We'll still do a few details on it because I think it's of general interest. So it's on the 1st of August. It's going to be at Arjo. I think at about 5:30, is it? Yeah, because of the time of the year. It's sort of early. We, back in the day, the Society of Authors, we organised a few book lovers quiz nights. They were a lot of work. Because you know that you've got quite a literary, intelligent audience. You can't, fob them off with anything. What made you do it, and will you do more of them in the future, or will you, with this one coming up on the 1st, will you be able to expand the venue, or how's all that going?
Yeah, so for the August 1st event, we're going to stick to the plan and reward the fastest 80 people that signed up.
Gosh, you got 80.
Yeah,
wow.
Yeah. We'll fill the venue really well. It's actually quite spacious in there. It'll be quite.
Yes, there's been some great poetry events there, hasn't there? Liz Breslин's done a fundraiser, and
So we won't make it any bigger this time around. But the other way that people continuing to sign up is helpful. Is just to know how much interest there is, because in the end I work very closely with the publishers who have been so amazing and generous with providing prizes and ideas and support and marketing and all of this sort of thing. So I feel extremely lucky. It's really an idea that we came out of the Christmas period with, so it was sort of February. And standing on the shoulder of giants, as I usually do, I contacted Nicola Cummins from the English department. And she's actually been doing the heavy lifting with the questions.
Oh, has she? Is she like the quiz master?
She is one of them, yeah.
Right,
yeah.
Brilliant idea.
So that works really, really well. So all up, we're really excited. We think the format works. The response we've had from publishers, especially the local ones, has been so outstandingly positive that, if we can back it up with a great event and show that there's actually more interest than we had capacity for,
Because the ones we did were a fundraiser,
Yeah.
for the branch to fund other events that that the Society of Authors do.
This really is, we want to give back to the community a bit. The driver initially was that, winter here is a bit tough. We have a long stretch between long weekends. It's cold, it's dark, it's a bit miserable.
Perfect reading weather, might I add, though.
It is. But we really wanted to provide something to people to look forward to.
Yeah,
This is a
German. Have a laugh.
This is a German saying. My accent, if you're wondering, is German. I've been here for about 20 years now, but I'm a native German. And the saying goes, Vorfreude ist die schönste Freude. The best joy there is looking forward to something. So that's what we wanted to provide.
Good for you. That's excellent. So I also see this then, you've had the response, now you just has to go off well.
That's right.
But you've created a kind of model then, haven't you? So if you do another one, it's not, it's going to be half the work, not twice the work kind of thing, because, it's always hard to sort of...
I say we'll see how this one goes. We'll ask for feedback from everyone that's involved, and then we'll see what we can do. But I love regular events, personally. Something in the calendar every year.
I agree. And sometimes I curse myself for, like, it's July, Beverly. You knew it was coming up. It's July in Dunedin. How hard do you want to make it for yourself? But I've got, you're right. I've got a couple of things coming up later in the year, and I've picked up just thinking about them now. So, totally agree. But as we've just said, perfect reading weather, why not hibernate with a hot drink and a great book while it's bloody freezing outside.
Yeah.
So
and there's lots of good stuff around. I'll encourage anyone, of course, to just come and have a look. Stop at the first two tables that you come across, has the new releases on it. I can really only speak to what I've read. I start a lot of books, and there's a few that I don't finish, but these ones that I want to talk about, I really, really enjoyed, or I'm really excited about.
Yeah.
Should we go fiction first?
Yeah. Just before we launch into specific books, there was a great tip I sort of read or heard recently, and I think it was from an ex-librarian. Read page 67.
Ooh.
Just if you're in a hurry and you're browsing, look at page 67, and that will kind of, if that grabs you, then the book is good. And I thought that was quite an interesting, because you might have got past the flashy intro or something.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. Well, this is obviously clearly for fiction, but
it's a great idea.
So let's go, Ina.
Absolutely. So we are having a bit of a French theme this month because it's the Olympics. It's the Tour de France.
I was going to say Tour de France. You're a bit of a fan of the Tour de France, aren't you?
Absolutely. I'm committed in so many ways. It's
what is it? The scenery?
It's everything. But it's really, because it was the culture at home. It's what I've done every July, nearly. A few years out when I was traveling, maybe. But I just adore it. It's a.
And there's not always a natural link between readers, kind of reading types and sports people, but sometimes it can be a great crossover. And of course, I think actually now we're all going to get pulled into Wimbledon.
That's
right. Of course, because of because of Lulu's success there. But I know that some people love the Tour de France simply for the scenery.
Oh, absolutely.
It's beautiful and warm, and that's another aspirational kind of thing.
The child watches it. She loves spotting the moats. Moats around castles are her thing. So, everyone has their little bit that they enjoy.
They do. All right. Okay, so, let's get back to the books.
Yeah, so on the back of the French theme, we pick Book of the Month every month, or usually 2 or 3 months out. And I came across this beautiful Paris-set novel called Scaffolding. And I have a bit of a thing for first-time authors, or debut novels at least, even if they're otherwise active in the writing scene. And this is a woman called Laura Elkin, who is an essayist and a translator, so her name pops up occasionally. And she's been working on this book for a very long time. Scaffolding, set in Paris in 2 parts, in the same apartment, 50 years apart. And it is absolutely wonderful. I dove into it, and one of the quotes that I loved was, this novel will, not a quote, a reviewer wrote this. This novel will absorb you, disassemble you, and leave you strangely unwilling to put yourself back together again. Deborah Baum said this. And this is really true. There's a rawness to the characters that is relaxing. I really loved it.
That's interesting. I wouldn't use rawness and relaxing in the same sentence.
No, but you want to throw yourself into it and stay. So I loved it. I can really recommend it. And it has a beautiful cover. And we thought we're going to rock with the Paris, France theme. So that's the book of the month for July at the moment.
Yeah. What else have you got on the fiction?
I mean, Irish fiction has had a real heyday since Paul Lynch won the Booker with Prophet Song. And there's a debut novel that I came across called The Coast Road by Ellen Murren. And I love these Irish stories where there's so much dialogue in this book. You can hear the Irish sing-song.
They're lyrical, aren't they?
It's so good the way.
There always adds a whole extra charm to things, doesn't it?
It's a slightly tragic story. It plays at in the 90s, just as divorce is back up for discussion and abortion is still illegal, of a woman that ran away from her family and comes back to the small community after her new affair fell apart, and how the community is not really able or willing to accept her back into the fold.
It's got a touch of the Graham Norton about it, actually. His books often do, someone's kind of personal secrets within a small community too.
I really recommend them. That one really made a bit of a splash when it came out.
Great.
And the other one that's just due in very soon, but I've read it a few months ago, and this is really for fans of speculative fiction, is also a first-time writer. He's a philosopher by the name of Scott Alexander Howard, and the book is called The Other Valley. And it plays in a world where there's valley after valley after valley. And the valley in the middle, say the one that we call now, plays in today's time. The one to the east is 20 years in the past, and the one to the west is 20 years in the future. And there is contact allowed in a very controlled manner between those valleys. So there's a bit of time travel in it. The author himself is a philosopher and spent his entire academic career thinking about the concept of time. And so this is a culmination of those concepts in a beautiful and also exciting, has sort of thriller aspects of it.
Has it got a good narrative thread through it?
Yeah, it does. The only negative thing that people keep saying about it online, and I didn't even notice it, is that he doesn't use quotation marks for direct speech, but...
Oh, I don't mind that. Roddy Doyle doesn't either. Just puts a wee dash or something. Yeah. Roddy Doyle's books are often pretty much entire dialogue, and you can definitely follow what's going on.
Follow it very easily, yeah. I loved the concept. I loved the resolution. I loved that it was very smart, and it picked up pace in a way that feels really natural as you're getting addicted to the story when nothing else matters.
Once you've done the world building, you then brilliant.
So that's a really great one called The Other Valley.
Yep.
Yeah, that's the 3 fiction books I brought along today.
Right. Let's get to your cookbooks then. Come on.
All right. We've just gotten it in, and I had set a copy aside because I just liked the title. I thought I'll have a closer look at it, and it'll be for my friend. And she's not getting it. I'm keeping it. It is called The Complete Cheese Pairing.
You've been reading the
Cookbook.
pages very carefully and trying not to spill anything on them. No,
it's mine. She can borrow it sometimes.
You're right. The recipe book doesn't.
This is so
travel.
good.
Yeah.
So The Complete Cheese Pairing Cookbook. It's one of those extremely readable books because you learn about. So it's for.
Sorry, pairing as in matching. When you said that, I was thinking about peeling.
No,
pairing.
Cheese pairing.
Pairing.
Yes,
yeah. Got it.
Pairing cheese with foods, but also with boozy drinks.
Mm-hmm.
But it gives you the science about what do we even taste. Explains the different, what can cheese be to produce these different flavors and textures, and what is the chemistry behind in pairing that we find pleasurable, and then goes through, has pages for different cheese from different countries, by season, very famous pairings, recipes for chutneys, recipes for whole dishes. I'm just going to live in that book. I wrote on Facebook today, I'm going to put it under my pillow, and just the knowledge is just going to seep into my brain the old-fashioned way.
Fantastic! Yeah. Look, I'm a Dutch milkmaid at heart.
Oh,
so I'm a big cheese consumer. Yeah.
Now this will be one of those. It's not one of the big hitting cookbooks, of course. It's not an Otalangi, not a Recipe 10 Eats. All these big ones that are coming out this year. This is a really good addition to, if you already have so many. This is quite a special present, I think.
I think you're going to learn. It sounds like something you learn more than you expect to from
Absolutely.
as well, which is great. Yeah. Okay, that's a good one.
And another, not a cookbook, but another non-fiction title that one of my readers, she said, stop the press. This has to be Book of the Month at some point. And we didn't quite get to it. It's selling really, really well, especially to schools, educators and parents. A book called The Anxious Generation by Jonathan Haidt. The subtitle is How the Great Rewiring of Childhood is Causing an Epidemic of Mental Illness. And it really is a must-read for anyone that is concerned about anxiety in children.
That sounds incredibly timely.
Yeah, it's a very important book. So
excellent.
I really recommend that for anyone that has young people in their household.
Mm-hmm. And is that
that's the lot? But I do want to go back to the cookbooks in general.
All right, you got 2 minutes starting now. Come on.
Just, I guess, a shout out to a local author, Derek Morrison of Surf. He's a local surfer and a local author and photographer who is published a number of titles with Penguin in the past and is self-publishing a book on gourmet pies this year. We're very excited about this. We're hoping there'll be an event. And we're taking pre-orders for it. He's taking pre-orders for it. It's a mixture of a recipe book / travel book with the subject, where can you find the best pies?
Perfect. Kiwi. Do you know what that would be perfect for? Is it coming out in time? It sounds to me it's got Father's Day written all over it.
Oh, it does, yeah. I think it might be a tad late for that, but it absolutely is, yes.
Right, brilliant. Hey, that's we could chat all morning, Ina. This is excellent. It's really good to introduce you to our listeners, and of course, just a reminder that if you're a member of the New Zealand Society of Authors, and a lot of our listeners are, the University Bookshop always offers a 10% discount. That's just kind of a given, isn't it, if you're buying any of these books or anything else that takes your fancy in the bookstore. So lovely to chat, Ina. I'm sure we'll do it again, and all the best with the staff and all the community work that you do in terms of the bookshop being so much, it's a hub, isn't it? It's much bigger than
absolutely.
A bookshop. Yeah.
Thank you so much for having me. Really appreciate it.
Cheers. So that was a great heads up about what's going on at the University Bookshop. But of course, we've got some other important writing events on the horizon here in Otipoti. So I'm just going to run through a couple of reminders for you now. The first up is the Landfall Essay Competition, which closes at the end of this month. Now, that's a $3,000 prize for the winning essay, but there's also a shortlist chosen, which is then published by Otago University Press. So great profile there for would-be entrants, and you can get all the details about the Landfall Essay Competition on the Otago University Press website. Now, also closing at the end of the month on 31st of July is our local National Poetry Day competition, which is run by the Dunedin Libraries. It's open to all Otago Southland residents, and that's defined as if you live south of the Waitaki River. So the winners are announced on Phantom National Poetry Day on the 23rd of August and are judged by two terrific local poets, Jill Sullivan, from who you'll know from Central. She's doing the youth section, and Majella Cullinane, who listeners will remember was one of my guests last month. She's judging the adult section. Once again, you can get full details on the website, which is the Dunedin Libraries website. So look into both of those, and if you've got something in draft form, you might want to polish it between now and the end of the month and have a crack. Two terrific opportunities there for poets and essayists. So that's pretty much my show for this month. I'd like to thank my guests again, Feana Kinski from the University Bookshop, and Feana Tu'akoi, who's the children's writer in residence currently here in Dunedin. And for the listeners, I just want to say keep reading and keep writing. And we'll talk again next month. Goodbye.
What do you want to be when you grow up? They say you are what you read, and the university bookshop can help you be whoever you want to be. Do you want to be an athlete? Then sit down with an inspiring sports biography. Do you fancy yourself as a detective? We have a grisly lineup of murder mysteries waiting just for you. Do you aspire to be the world's greatest chef? We have cookbooks to tantalise your taste buds. Do you want to celebrate your inner child? Play up in our fabulous children's room. The University Bookshop, helping you decide what you want to be when you grow up.
This podcast was produced by OAR FM Dunedin with support from New Zealand On the Air.